The year was 1897, the place Chicago, and L. Frank Baum, at the age of 41, was starting over, embarking on yet another new venture. He had tried it all: businessman, actor, playwright, newspaper publisher. He had even tried to raise an exotic breed of chickens. His latest effort was to write a children's book. As always, his family remained steadfastly behind him, but privately, they could not help but wonder whether he would ever find his place in the world, for Baum was a dreamer, a hopeless romantic who had let his vivid imagination lead him through life, and up till now, it had led him only to failure.
The thing that's fascinating to me about L. Frank Baum is that he was so much more than just a writer. His childhood was very special. His parents had money from the oil industry, and they were able to educate him in a very personal way.
I think it's why his imagination was limitless, and he never learned what too many kids learn today. Got to be in a hard world, leave your imagination until later. You can always do that later. No, it doesn't work that way.
When not engaged in homeschooling, Baum loved to disappear into a book or to wander over the expansive grounds of the family estate, where he played on the yellow plank road and found a deep fascination with a scarecrow that guarded over the family's crops. By the time he was a teenager, Baum was already a hopeless dreamer. His parents, fearing he lacked any direction in his life, decided to send him away to military school.
Frank went to Peekskill Military Academy, detested the highly structured life, became ill. It seems like every time he got stressed, he became ill, and left.
At the age of 14, Baum had his first encounter with publishing after seeing the wonders of a printing press at work. As usual, his doting parents indulged his new passion by buying him a small press, and within a few weeks, he and his younger brother were already turning out their first newspaper.
It was called the Roselawn Home Journal, and it was published whenever they could publish it, and would hand it out mostly to family members and so forth. And I think actually he started thinking about the world of printing.
But for someone with as fertile and active an imagination as Frank's, sticking to one thing proved a great challenge, and he found himself drawn into a kaleidoscope of other interests that ranged from stamp collecting to raising a select breed of chickens known as Hamburgs.
Then he got into acting. His family wasn't so excited about him getting into acting, but supported him, ended up buying a theater so that he could write plays, perform plays, produce plays, be very involved in that, and eventually travel with them, which he did successfully until the theater burned down.
Baum's most successful play was The Maid of Iran, a sentimental melodrama he wrote, directed, and in which he starred, traveling with the production on tour as far west as Chicago and into Canada.
I think he was really beginning on what he would consider to be his foremost career, and one which probably interested him the most.
While between acting engagements, Baum met the woman who was to change his life and destiny forever.
If the old adage, opposites attract, is true, there's probably been no better exemplification of that than Frank Baum and his wife Maud, because where she was forthright and business-oriented and common-sensible, he had the great flights of fantasy that made him, at heart and mind, an 8-year-old for his entire adult life in some ways. Not that he couldn't buckle down as well, but Maud more or less ruled the family roost.
Maud was the daughter of the great 19th century feminist Matilda Jocelyn Gage, an ardent advocate of women's rights and one of the driving forces behind the women's suffrage movement. Their first encounter came at a festive holiday party in December of 1881.
There was a reception at Baum's sister-in-law's home, and Jossie's mother, Josephine Baum, said, Frank, this is Maud Gage.
Well, immediately he's thinking, Maud Gage. That's Matilda Jocelyn Gage's daughter. She hates men. What are you doing? But being the dapper gentleman that he was, took one look at her and was speechless, something actors are not supposed to be. And he looked at her and he kind of mumbled, and remembering the words that Harriet had said, I know you're going to love her, he looked straight at